All right, guys, we are live. It's episode 289 of the Shooter's Mindset. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. Joining me, Greg Cannon's in the house. What's going on, Craig?
Hey, everyone.
Jennifer Seymour's with us. What's going on, Jen?
Hey, everybody.
And he's the CEO of 5x5 Precision. It's Chad Heckler's in the house. What's going on, Chad?
Hey, guys.
It's good to have you on here. We're going to talk a little bit about the quarantines and what we can kind of do to kind of keep in match shape while the whole season across the board is on pause. And this goes for pistol. Don't matter what game you play, pretty much it's on pause for now. You can be playing professional basketball. You ain't playing right now.
For sure.
So what can we do to stay in shape so if it ever does pick up again, which I'm sure it will, we can still be in that form that we left or was in. Or hell, if you wasn't in good form to begin with, maybe you can get in good form. Staying in and dry firing, right? Maybe that'll get you there. Maybe that'll get you to the level.
I think it'll be a separator.
Yeah.
Those that don't touch their gun while they're quarantined versus those that dry fire.
I don't know. I could probably call out 10 shooters that'll be fine. There's probably 10 or 20 shooters that don't really need it.
That just got it.
But
Well, the ones that are already there, they probably don't need to, but those of us that are still trying to get there,
yeah,
there's a lot more of us.
It'll make a difference. You know, people like me that are still trying to improve, it'll make a difference if I dry fire or not.
That C, B class, A class kind of category of shooters trying to make it to the GM side or the, I don't know the precision rifle classes, but you know what I'm talking about here.
We
trying to push up.
Amateur, marksman, spro.
That's my favorite.
Yeah.
Spro.
Pro.
The spros are trying to get to the pros side of things, I guess. So that's what we're going to be talking about here today. Show sponsors here. The folks over at GSL Technologies has believed in us enough to come back on and support the show. So we appreciate them. GSL Technologies for all your suppressor needs. I think Greg's finally got some cans coming. I think.
Yes.
Don't want to say he does because something might happen.
Yeah, don't jinx it.
Supposedly.
I want to be more civilized.
Yeah, supposedly you had a can coming for like a year now.
Yeah, I know, but the guy that told me he was going to send it just never sent it.
Yeah. I don't know. There's this little thing called the NFA where you have to put in forms to send cans around. And I just can't. I mail it out and it doesn't get approved. Like I don't hear anything back. So whatever. Screw the NFA, man. That shit is kind of nonsense. But at least that part of it. What else? We have any? If you want to get in your questions live, if you're watching on the Facebook side of things on the Shooter's Mindset Facebook, just comment below this live stream video. If you're watching on YouTube or listening to podcasts, you can join us every Tuesday, 9 Eastern. We do a new episode of the Shooter's Mindset on the Shooter's Mindset Facebook page. I think that's all I got. So for announcements here. But Chad, tell us a little bit more about yourself, how you got involved in the industry and competition shooting, right?
Yeah, sure. So that question implies that people actually care about my answer, but yeah. So I'm relatively new. I got my first precision rifle in 2017. It was, and it's actually this rifle sitting right in front of me. I haven't changed a thing since I started. The funny thing about it was I always considered myself a gun guy, but I didn't realize that I wasn't really a shooter until I was sitting at a brewery one day and I was sitting next to this guy at the bar and he was watching gun videos. I can't remember what he's watching. Some guy shooting an automatic Glock or something. And there's another guy on the left-hand side of me and he's watching like Pokemon videos. I'm like, what the hell is going on in here? So I move over, I start talking to the guy watching gun videos and turns out he's in the military and he's, doing national and international sniper competitions and kicking ass at it. And he only lived like 5 miles down the road. So him and I, we're getting together on the weekends shooting at my parents' farm and he got me introduced to the guys up at MTC up in Lake City. I don't know if you guys have heard of that, but it's a pretty sweet range up north. And it goes out to about 1054. And And, you know, I took a training course out there and met a bunch of guys and started shooting long range. My first caliber was a 6.5 by 47. And, you know, Swanee, I don't know if he's on in there yet, but he helped me put this thing together. And we were meeting probably once a month up there and having, you know, some just shooters shooting, basically, you know, trying to share knowledge and stuff. And it was a blast. He started this thing called the Michigan Precision Rifle Squad, and we were just all about sharing information and going to matches and figuring stuff out. So it's kind of where it started, but I really haven't been doing it that long, honestly.
There you go. What do you got? You got it a few years now, a few seasons?
Yeah, my first match was one of the Guardian matches. It was at MTC. So I don't know if you guys have heard of the Guardian. It's a charity match, and all the proceeds go to. Are you frozen up there? Sorry. You guys can hear me, right?
Yeah, we can hear you.
We can hear you.
Yeah, all the proceeds go to finding children their forever home, like foster children. So it's a really good cause. And shot that match. I think I came in mid-pack, maybe just above, but I was like super excited. But one thing that I learned from that match is take good notes on every stage, and then afterwards figure out what you want to train on and how you're going to improve on it. So every round that I missed, I had notes on, and every time I missed, it was why did I miss? Was it gear related? Was it something that I did, or was it you know, something that I misjudged or wasn't prepared for, or, you know, something that I had no idea, you know? I mean, sometimes you take a shot and you don't even know why you missed. You can't explain it until later, and sometimes never. So I took all those notes back, and then I figured I was going to make a training plan for myself, and, you know, we would go back in the squad and work together to push each other to get better in those particular areas. And after the Guardian match, I think I shot one other match that year. It was the LRSE, which I don't think they do anymore at Rock Castle.
Which year, 2018 or 2017?
2017.
I did 2018. I did the last one.
It was 2018. Yeah.
The one that rained and it was 30 degrees. It was the most miserable thing ever.
So that was my second match, and I thought, if this is what it's going to be like, I'm not sure.
That was my first match by myself ever, and I didn't know anyone. And I drove down there by myself and didn't know a soul.
So still had a lot of fun. Luckily, I ended up in that barn during the heaviest downpour, which, you know, I didn't get wet, but man, it was kind of sketchy. That thing was moving around, rocking and rolling. So yeah, I don't know if I'd rather been inside of it or outside of it, but it worked out. So yeah, and then after that match, I committed to 2019. My goal was to make the PRS finale. That was my main goal. So I was like, well, that's a pretty lofty goal, obviously. How am I going to do this? So I put 3 pro matches on my schedule and like 5 of the club series matches to try to give myself a chance. And I was able to qualify through both directions. So, and I shot the Guardian match again that year, 2019, and won that in Michigan. And that was super awesome, super fun time. The fun thing about those matches is that everybody's like, well, just like everybody in the PRS, like everybody's helpful. It's, you know, it's like a fellowship. Like everybody has a good time and they help each other out and they push each other to be better. Like you want to beat somebody else on their best day, not on their worst day. I mean, that's kind of how the saying goes, but had a good time. So made the finale. Did not do that great at the pro finale. I had so much fun. It was probably the most fun weekend I've had shooting. Met Jen and Greg and hung out and did a lot of cool stuff and hung out with Swanee and Francis. And but there's a couple stages that I did not do too good with and had some mental mistakes. And that was pretty much the inception for the dryfire training group. You know, I wanted to take those mistakes and bring it home and find a way during the winter time to make sure that I was, you know, practicing on those specific things and getting better on them.
Yeah, I like that thing that you were talking about earlier today, that you take notes.
Yeah.
On every stage you do, whether why you sucked or why you did really good. Was it gear related? Was it you related?
So what
My first year, I came home and made a spreadsheet after every match, and I would put like what stage it was, how many points, how many hits I got, how many shots I took, how many total points were possible. And then I would write like, was it a positional stage or a prone stage? And then I would put like what my issues were, like couldn't get stable or whatever. And it was funny to watch the evolution throughout that year. The first like 3 matches were all like, couldn't get stable, couldn't find the target fast enough, timed out, you know, and to be able to see by the end of the year, the issues were like wind. I couldn't get a good read on the wind. And so it kind of helped me see, okay, well, I've gotten better at positional, obviously, because finally the wind is getting me. Whereas at first it didn't matter what the wind was doing. I couldn't get stable to save my life. So it's kind of cool to do that, to take the notes and watch the evolution of what you struggle with.
For sure. Yeah. If you look at my, I keep every single match book, and then I write on 3x5 cards for every stage. And on the back side, I write my score, you know, whatever it was, 7 out of 10 or whatever. And then for every miss, I wrote what I missed on. And if it was a wind miss, I write down whether it was on the upwind side or the downwind side. And then that way I can tally that stuff up and say, okay, am I overestimating the wind as a whole or underestimating? And then I noticed throughout the year, like the more I practiced and, you know, the more I was dry firing, that the mental errors were going away. And then on the back sides of my notes, the times I missed, it was because, you know, the wind got me or there was something else. You know, I find that, you know, I think the top shooters, they don't have the mental errors. You know, everybody's going to miss a shot here or there because they, you know, they held too much wind or not enough wind. It's, did you see it? And can you make a correction on it? And then don't do it again. And don't do don't make the mental errors, you know. Don't shoot the targets out of order, and don't forget to dial your scope. Those are all things that you can practice dry fire training. Tons of stuff.
That's definitely, I think I got to a point where I'm like, okay, there's certain things I should not screw up because of. I'm not going to be perfect. I know that. But there's like, I should not have a mental mistake. I should be able to get it together mentally, I feel like.
Well, I like that you said that you're not going to be perfect, but I disagree with you. You need to strive for that, because if you fall short of perfection, then you're still going to kick ass and you might just win. So I would say go into the match and go into every stage like you're going to clean it. And
yeah, but then I'll be so mad at myself that by stage 3, I won't be able to shoot, because I get really mad at myself if I'm unreasonable with my expectations. Then I get in a bad mood. Ask Greg.
I haven't squatted.
Oh, Lord.
But I believe you.
I'm nice. Now, outwardly, I'm nice. I don't ever like, but I do get mad at myself, and I sometimes have to just walk away from everybody for a minute because I'm mad at myself. But I usually try and stay upbeat because nobody's dying at this. So
yeah, but you can always tell when it's in there. And shooting with you for so long, sometimes I'm just like, fix your head, get back.
Yep.
Yeah.
Come, bring Jen back, and then you can shoot.
You know, some folks are kind of, you know, got to get away when they go to the safe table, like in the middle of something. And they're just like practicing their draw and just thinking to themselves, like, what's going on? You know, why did I do that?
No,
you know,
what I can't stand, it's just like on the Olympics when the gymnast goes to do a vault and lands completely on her butt. And then the newscaster goes, so how did that feel? Or what happened? And you want to go, well, I just busted my ass. What do you think just happened? I mean, and so my pet peeve is when I come off a stage, and God love him, Greg's a good friend, but sometimes he'll be like, what happened? And I'm like, don't talk to me right now. I don't want to talk.
Only good friends are allowed to do that. Everybody else, like if you're shooting on a squad and you don't really know anybody that day, it'll be pure silence after you come off the stage.
Yeah.
Like,
Pure silence. I turn around and Greg's like, what happened? And I'm like, I missed the target. What do you think happened? But why?
Swanee said he squatted with Moody Jen once.
Yeah.
I think
I was only moody at that one, Swanee, because we had to hike 2 miles. You were moody. He was moody too. We were both moody because we were dying, we felt like.
I think me and Swanee are going to start a support group for having to deal with Moody Jen, though.
I'm really a nice person.
You really are.
All right. What else you got? Anything on your end, Jen?
Not after that, no.
You want to hit number 2?
Oh, am I hitting number 2? That wasn't my question. That was
Anyway,
That was Greg's question. That's
So
a
the-
sore subject for me.
I'm sorry.
I don't know, Greg.
I figured we talked for a second about the COVID-19 pandemic and all the crazy panic. You know, down here we got
They're canceling matches.
matches canceled, cities on total lockdown.
Well, I mean, COVID-19 is kind of what brought this show about, because we were like, who should we have on the show? And I was like, I have a good person that I'm going to ask for the show. And they're like, who? I'm like, I'm going to call Chad Heckler, because this is perfect, because everybody's stuck in their house right now and matches are canceled. So it's a perfect reason to dry fire.
I love social distancing.
Me too. I think it's one of my big hobbies, actually.
It's never going to go out of style, right, Greg?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's weird because up here, I mean, I kind of live out in the country a little bit. And it's weird that it's so quiet, but it's also weird that it's not as quiet as you'd expect when they say, hey, you guys are on a stay-at-home order. There's still cars driving around and still people going to the stores and stuff. I mean, it feels relatively normal.
Essential personnel.
Yeah. I see not touching things like unnecessarily, their face, their handrail or whatever, but other than that, like, it feels normal up here. So I don't know, I'm the type of guy that I'm always stocked up on ammo, beer, and coffee, so I'm pretty good.
The essentials.
I think my biggest thing is like, my mom's big on like, oh, chicken's on sale, I'm gonna buy 37 pounds of it. But for me, with my I got a little baby Walmart on the way home, and they always have chicken, and I could just stop. It's on the right side of the road, pull in, get my stuff, go through self-checkout. It adds like 2 minutes to my drive home. And then I don't have to deal with like, oh, I'm going to have chicken tomorrow night. Let me defrost it. So there's no chicken left, and it's really sad.
So what are you going to do about that for next time, Greg?
I'm going to have some frozen freaking chicken.
Yep, get a freezer. My New Year's resolution last year, and it's really paying off right now, was set up a day bag that I carry everywhere. So me and my buddy Dan Rillette and Swanee, we had a meeting at his house, and we had steaks and cigar and beers.
Of course you had steaks, because you were Swanee.
We tore apart our day bags, and man, we had a blast. So we took him in his garage and spread everything out, and then we compared what each other were carrying, and then we were explaining why we were carrying certain things and what the purpose of it was. And I mean, I changed my bag after that, but a little bit from Swanee and from Dan, but it was a good activity. I mean, honestly, I feel like you guys could do a whole podcast about it. It's probably not in the shooter's mindset, but it is like, it's something that we all could be better at. Situational awareness, like preparedness. Like I like to have things on me that can help me survive. So yeah, I mean, there's probably been 2 days in the last year that I forgot it, and I was like bummed out, man.
Yeah, and I actually I call it my work backpack because I got my laptop in there, my charger, my cell phone chargers, but I mean it goes with me everywhere.
Yeah, but you got your pistol, your magazines, your sappy plate, all that good stuff too.
Not in the bag that sits on my desk at work.
Yeah.
All right, well,
no, during this kind of made me, and I know it's a bad time during this to think about how you would do it next time, or what you should have had or shouldn't have. You should have had this before this.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've never been like, I've always had stuff, but I never, and it's always stuff that like kind of just sit, and then I would have this plan like, okay, this is going to be the get home bag. I'm going to have some meals in there. I'm going to have, essentials, first aid, stuff like that. And then I end up leaving it, right? It'll just sit. And then eventually I'll use that bag for something else. And then it was like, I got supplies everywhere, but it's not in where it's supposed to be or how I originally set it up. So this got me thinking about like getting armor plate carriers. Like I always wanted it, right? But right. I'm like, why would I need that? I'm not going to shoot in that. I'm not no G.I. Joe. I'm not no military type dude in any fashion. Like, what am I going to use armor plate carriers for? And I'm like, I always wanted one, just couldn't justify spending the dough on it. But now I'm like, all right, now I need that. Whether it's going to sit on a wall with a nice Call of Duty helmet, all tricked out, whatever, some nods, we get it all, right? And that's kind of got me thinking. I'm totally in the market for shopping for some of those with some plates and everything like that. Top of some first aid kit. We got some MRE meals and stuff like that. But
You're talking my language, man. All that's in my day bag.
yeah,
The food is the issue because we have extra food. We've had extra food, but I have 3 teenagers. So I go to the store and they're like, you can only get 2 packs of meat and there's 2 steaks in each pack of meat. And there's 5 of us. And I'm like, I can't even feed my family with 2 packs. Then I wanted 2 loaves of bread and they're like, you can only get 1. And I'm like, you realize that we made grilled cheese today and we killed a loaf of bread. Like it's gone for 1 meal. 3 teenagers. They eat a lot.
And Jen, I know a couple of weeks ago we were obviously in your profession, and I talked to another gentleman who also is down in Homestead in a hospital. And a couple of weeks ago we were just kind of like, it's not really a big deal. Calm your tits. You know what I mean? And now a couple of weeks later, I think we're starting to hear a different tune with it.
It's because of the exponential growth of the spread. And it's going to overwhelm our healthcare system. And that's the biggest thing. Yes, flu may kill more, but flu lasts like 8 months of the year. Literally. This one is like in 2 weeks, killed 700 people in the US. So if we keep up at that rate and it exponentially goes up, then, I mean, we had 134 die yesterday from it. If you multiply that out, it's like 4,000 people a month in the US. That's more than flu. And so the problem is that it's all happening right now. And so there's not enough healthcare workers and hospital beds and
supplies,
masks.
Supplies, masks, gloves, all that stuff is being bought out. I mean, I know
and
a dude
stolen.
that works at dude that works at an auto parts store. He's saying they sold all their gloves to one individual.
Mm-hmm.
So one dude came in there and spent like 2 G's on gloves, and that's it. They're out.
And
like,
gloves are
like
expensive in an auto parts store.
Yeah. Like they're not there to like work on cars essentially.
I don't get why do normal people need gloves? Y'all don't need oh, don't get me on the soapbox. I told you. You don't need gloves. We've had people coming in our hospital wearing gloves and they wear the same gloves all day and they're still scratching their face and touching doorknobs with the glove and then scratching their face. So it does no good to wear a glove. I don't understand.
You're not going to get the disease through your hands. That you use the gloves while you're touching something infected. And then you remove the gloves safely and throw them in the trash.
Anyway, nobody wants to hear that.
Yeah. So
moving on.
There you go.
Everybody wants to hear Chad, not me. Go.
To feed off of what Chad said, though, it feels like it's still normal. Like even though things are shut down, but I drove this morning to just get a couple things, and I'm seeing people on the traffic is lower. Like feel like I'm definitely getting to where I need to go faster, but it doesn't seem like it's like people are still out and about. You know what I mean? It's not. So,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Let's hit these live shout outs real quick. Oh yeah, we got a lot of people saying hey. We got Kevin from GSL saying hello all. Swanee said Wisconsin Mammoth. Oh, Wisconsin Mammoth.
Yes, he's talking about what me and him did. We almost died together. We are bonded now because we almost died together. And then we almost fell off the back of the little go-kart thing.
Still the closest to falling out. I still got that going up the hill at K&M on the back of that truck where I was running behind the truck backwards with my hand in the back. That was not fun. Brian Conley said, good evening, everybody.
Thing all tricked out right now that someone can just purchase straight up from you.
I mean, hindsight is
and be ready to rock.
Yeah, hindsight's 2020. We definitely don't have that ready, but I think it'd be a fun class to get people spun up on, what are the most valuable things you can carry with you. It's all about convenience and weight. Like you said, you put together a bag, but you leave it at home half the time, just whether it's convenience or weight or whatever. But there are certain things that, you should have on you at all times, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So.
And even those notepads,
nice.
Yeah, ran into a couple squirrel hunters.
I haven't had any time to get out.
All right, guys, we are live back on YouTube here.
Yep.
We had an issue. We had about 24 minutes in, the show crashed on Facebook Live. So the only way we can get this going is on YouTube. And we were putting Greg on the spot about why isn't he dry firing?
Yeah, how often are you dry firing, Greg?
So I went through this phase where my rifle was at the gunsmith from Thanksgiving until after my January birthday. No, January? Well, I know my birthday's January. It came back like mid-January. Then I had to put it together, and then I had to load develop. Then work went crazy. Then we got to the virus part where the past couple weeks have been crazy. So I have
dry fired this year.
I have all the greatest
Right.
dry fire technologies out there to do it. But
That's not right. It's not right.
I was like, I know you had your 22, so you could have used your 22.
But so the 22 up until here recently had a very, 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 very different stock, and everything about shooting that was different than the centerfire. I did dry fire with the 22 a little bit, but it was just so different.
Yeah. Yeah, let's see if
I do need to start back.
we can pull.
You need to bug me, Chad. Be like,
Well, hold on. We didn't
Say
get
it,
to
hey.
the whole. We didn't get to the whole question about how did this group start, because that's kind of where we're going with this, right? Where did this come from? So, my buddy Steve from Chicago, I shoot with him once in a while at a range out there, ASC, and then my buddy Dean Myers, he was over on the west side of the state of Michigan. We were shooting this text thread back and forth. So I would shoot them a stage, and they'd have 24 hours to complete it, and then they would send me back. Well, it was like we got lives and families and jobs and whatever. It was taking too long, and it was a great idea at first, but I thought, you know what, I want to dry fire more. And then you were bugging me at the finale, which I was like, okay, maybe Jen will want to, go back and forth on this. So I thought, you know what, I bet some other people would want to get in on this too. So then I'm like, why don't I just create a Facebook group, which I didn't realize it was a page and not a group because I'm kind of dumb when it comes to that. But it's a Facebook page called Dry Fire Training Group at Dry Fire TG. And I put out a stage every weekend. Usually it's on Sundays. And the whole thing was, for me, it was kind of selfish. It was for me to force myself to hold myself accountable to train every single week on it. And that's still pretty much, what I try to do and what I get out of it. But then I got people messaging me, hey, how do you do this? Or how do you do that? Or, what's that on your gun? What's that red light flashing on the side of your gun? Or what's that? So I realized it was helping people. So not only, am I getting something out of it, a bunch of other people are too. So then I got with Swanee, and he's like, well, we can get these boards. And, it just kept going from there. So I don't think it's as popular as it should be. So I'm glad you guys invited me on the show, and I'm hoping that people, see this and want to get into it, because I feel like it's super valuable training, especially when you can't get out of the house, you can't get to the range. Everybody has time constraints in their life, but this only takes 10 minutes. If you got it set up, you can run a stage 10 times and 5 times in 10 minutes, and you can get something out of it every day.
Yeah.
you're going to get me back into it. See, that's good.
I'll prove it.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to be, if you want to be the number 1 lady in PRS, you got to do some dry fire there, Jen.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, what are you, number 4 now?
No.
Number 4 best lady in PRS. To get to number 1, you need dry fire. Candace is out. So boom, we can
She's
climb
not
into
out
the
for
top
long.
3
She just
there.
had a baby. She's not dead.
Right, but she's out. So there's a window of opportunity here.
Wait, she had a baby too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Congratulations to her.
Like this week.
I think it was like 2 days ago.
Adorable baby.
Mm-hmm. So there we go. There's that on the dry fire thing, man. I used to, when I was into the pistol game and really trying to climb that ladder, man, I was in the backyard. I would set up stages in my backyard. I actually built, I don't know. I built target stands. I had the IDPA targets up, and I had a shed in the back, so I would throw some in the shed, some outside of the shed, and I was legit full on IDPA gear with the fishing vest, the whole nine. The wife thought I was absolutely nuts, but I mean, that was my peak of shooting when I was actually dedicated to getting better.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. My wife thinks I'm nuts too.
Yeah, she's like, what are the neighbors are going to look over in the backyard? They're going to see you pointing a gun at their fence. They're going to call the cops. I'm like,
I need to get a more convenient setup because mine's in the garage and I have to back my car out to be able to do it. so then I'm like, you know what I mean? If it was just like set up and I could do it, it'd be a lot easier.
Well, so
And if I do it in the house, if I do it in the house, my
like,
husband is like, what are you doing up there? Because I'm racking the bolt that's making noise. So I try and go in the garage and do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jen, you have a funny story about dry firing in the garage and people at the neighbor's house.
Oh gosh. So my garage is a side garage, and it so the other house is right here, and my garage kind of goes like this, and their front porch is right there. And I was dry firing out the garage, and a pizza delivery guy came up to their front porch, and he looked at me and he was like, and he literally like ran and gave them their pizza and like took off running. It was hysterical. He thought I was going to shoot him. I was waiting for the cops to come because I was like, oh, he just went and called the police. I guarantee it.
Probably. Yeah, so, I was like, have them call the cops, man. I'm on my property. It's a BB gun. Whatever.
With now I have all this fancy gear. I got the dry fire target and the IDTS and all that stuff. But before I had that, my backyard backs up to a like a power line, and it runs down. But my backyard is kind of triangle shaped. So I can look and I could see about 450 yards in one direction up until there's a road, and then there's like the road's up on a hill. So one day I drove out there and I got a little 8x8 square piece of like political sign and a 10x10 square piece of political sign, and set them up right there exactly 400 yards from my backyard. And I built a really cool portable barricade and had it out there. And that's what I used to dry fire a lot, especially when it was nice out. Come home, go out back for 30 minutes and, just run stages. Like, it's funny. You could tell what I practiced because I had a PRS barricade in a 10-inch square at 400 yards. And that is the only stage I cleaned at the last match I shot. And I actually shot it in a pretty decent time.
Nice.
Yeah.
I got that down. I just need to do some more stuff.
Yeah. A couple good books that I found when I was really doing it hardcore was, Michael Seeklander put out a phenomenal book. I don't recall the name. I know he has a couple books out. But Michael Seeklander, man, it's a step-by-step, and there's a lot of books like that out there, but this one
he has a book, and Ben has books, Ben Stoker and Steve Anderson.
Yeah, those are the most popular for pistol.
All of those are for pistol, but there's not like a dry fire book for long range. And so maybe you should do a book, Chad.
Chad, I would buy your book.
Like for real, with some like different drills and like breaking down fundamentals, like breaking it down into different and time goals. If you did that. Goals.
So two things, not to give that away or give that idea to somebody else, but there are some really good drill and stage books written by a couple of guys up at MTC where we shoot, Claire Ward and his buddy. They're called the Gunfighter series, and they have really good pistol, carbine, and precision rifle training books. So if you guys haven't heard of those, they're really good. They're on Amazon. And the other book I would recommend is With Winning in Mind by Lanny Bassam. Have you guys heard of that? Yeah, that's a really good one. So that's what I was trying to motivate Jen with, the winning mindset. Like approach every stage like you're gonna clean it. Please do. And if you don't think you can, like start thinking about why you think that way, and then go home and train that out of your brain, basically.
Yeah, some people read that book 3-4 times because you read 3-4 times, and you really. I remember reading it my first time, and I didn't fully understand it the first time through. So I would go back and read it again, and it was like, dude, what? I wasn't doing this. Like my mindset really wasn't this. It's a great book.
It's a huge amount of game. I mean, it's very important.
That's probably one of the best mental game books you can probably of all time that I've read. But like I said, I know you pointed out a company, but I think there needs to be a little bit more of these books on goals and what you can do and stuff like that. I really enjoy those books. I went page by page, and I did these drills, and it was a lot. It made dry fire more entertaining too, because you had kind of a step by step on what to do, versus a lot of people would just do mag changes with a pistol and have smoke and mag reloads. And I'm like, well, you only reload once or twice. If you're shooting USP production, maybe you're loading 5 times, but I mean, to have a smoking reload and then be kind of average everywhere else, it doesn't really help. And I find a lot of people just do mag changes and draws and simple stuff. And these books kind of really pointed out what you really need to be doing. So there's some on that. Chad, if you tell us a little bit more about 5x5 precision and your vision for it.
Yeah, so come up with a couple products, but I mean, my day job is a mechanical engineer. I own a small business manufacturing products, and I've always been a machinist. You know, everything that I do, I want to do for myself. So I play guitar. I've taught myself how to build guitars. I like drinking beer. I brew my own beer. You know, it's very helpful in times like these. And then I like shooting rifles. I want to build my own rifles. So I got a lathe and I'm making my own rifles. So, you know, it's not more complicated than that. There's a lot of rifle builders out there, and, you know, there's a lot of people that are really good at it. So my thing is, like, I just want to have the control myself to make my own rifle in the lead time that I can do it, and have fun with it, you know. Also, I created the Crush It timer, the Crush It rifle timer. I don't know if you guys have seen that. In my opinion, it's hasn't kicked off yet because I didn't really release it until after the finale, so people haven't had a chance to see it at matches and stuff. But it is an integral part of my dry fire training and at matches. Honestly, I run it in every match. I don't know if you can see it on the side of the gun here, but it's a timer that's integrated to the side of the rifle. This is the spur mount, but I also have a Picatinny mount. I have a scope mount that goes on the scope itself, the Arca mount. I don't know how you guys want to do it, but I would like to give away a full copy of the Crush It rifle timer with the data card. If you want to do a raffle afterwards or whatever. Or
I know we could do who has the most embarrassing story on Chad, and they win the.
I hate you. Swanee will win that one, or Dan. So yeah, it's cool. You got multiple rotations with the data card itself. So I personally like to ride mine width-wise. Some people like it vertical, whatever.
Where does it attach?
So there's a little card below it. I'll hold it up here. So the timer itself, right below the timer.
Yeah, but how does the timer attach to the scope?
Oh, this is a spur mount, so it mounts right to the spur.
Gotcha.
This particular mount here is a Picatinny mount, so it clamps right on the Picatinny rail if you got room underneath your scope or behind it. And then, like I said, there's scope mounts for 30 millimeter, 34 millimeter. Swanee'sCompGear.com has all that good stuff in his retail space, or you can message me on that. A quick tip on that: I was selling them with the grease pencil, but I've seen where people put basically duct tape over the top of it, and then you can peel off that duct tape, and then you stick that after you're done with the match or that particular stage. You stick it in your matchbook, and then you've got the data that you use for that stage. So I've
done it that way, and I've done with a Sharpie.
Yeah.
Like when it's raining, I can use a Sharpie and then use hand sanitizer, which I have on my bag anyway because it's Porta-Johns, and so
for
I
sure
want hand sanitizer. And so you just use hand sanitizer and a towel to wipe it off in between.
I like how you say this, you rich entitled human. Like you have hand sanitizer to waste.
Yeah. She makes her own.
Don't tell anybody.
I was about to say we're going to need to think of something else for the rest of the season, because I don't think either one of us can be able to refill our hand sanitizer after all this.
But there's a lot of options. I think that's great because I've done the tape as well, because then you can save it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You're missing an opportunity to collect data if you're erasing it with hand sanitizer. So I like the tape idea, and you can stick it right in your matchbook, or you can stick it on a piece of paper or whatever. That way you can confirm your data. When you get back to the hotel on the first night, you can say, okay, I held 2.6 mil on the first target, and I needed 2.7. So you can kind of true up your data if you need to, or whatever the case is. I like it.
Can you go through the features on your Crush It timer? Like what is it? Is it recording shot to shot like a par timer, or what is it?
Oh, it's super basic. So in this instance, this is just a raw timer here, but there's a minute and there's a second. So I don't know if you can see it on there. I just incremented the minute, and then there's a play and pause in the center. So once you've incremented and you set the stage time, and the guy says, hey, shooter ready, engage, then you just push the center button, and then you can always stare at the time while you're shooting the course of fire. So what I will say is, this seems like, you know, something that could distract you, but once you've started it, you maybe wasted a second of your time, and once you get used to it, you don't waste any time. But what it does is, while you're shooting the stage, say you're shooting a troop line stage where you've got to engage 5 different targets, you've got to dial your data for 5 different targets, and you get to the 3rd target and you realize, man, I've got a minute left and I only have 2 shots left to break. Why would I rush those 2 shots? Like, if I went back and I looked at my Pareto analysis for my misses, my last 1 or 2 shots, they were almost always the ones that were missed, because I was rushing. I was nervous that timer was going to run out, and I was rushing them. So when I look at this timer, when I got 2 rounds left and I got 60 seconds, you'll literally see me just wait 20 seconds. I'm going to watch the wind. I'm going to double check my last impact and make sure that it was centered up. And then I'm going to press that trigger with the perfect trigger press and make sure I follow through. And I swear it gets me 3 to 5 impacts per match. And that's huge. When you talk about getting in the top 10, it's huge.
So before I moved and got into competitive shooting in general, my thing for my entire life as a kid, from when I was 8 until I graduated college and moved for a new job, I was all about paintball, and that's all I did. I worked in the industry. I played competitively, this, that, and the other thing. And when I got into PRS, that was one of the first things I was like, why don't we have timers on these guns?
Yeah.
Because it really helps with, you know, knowing, you know, shooting 3-gun, like, you're not going to take the time to be like, oh yeah, I need to speed up because I'm trying to beat what John did after I average in all my hits and blah, blah, blah. But it's something that's really, really helpful. Paintball, you know, generally you have a time limit per match or per game in a tournament. And we have timers either on our masks. You know, they made one that went like behind your ear, and you pressed it and it would give you like a 2 beeps when there was 2 minutes left, and 1 beep when there was 1 minute left, and 3 beeps at 30 seconds. And then it would like beep every second for the last 15 seconds because you can only shoot so many people. I was like, man, that would be something really cool for this. And when I saw you came out with that, I was like, that's freaking awesome. I need to get one.
Well, like you said, like 3-gun, why would you use this timer in a 3-gun? What do you think the only stage that I don't use the timer in is at the PRS match?
Skill stage.
The skill stage.
Because I don't care. Like, I'm not going to look over at that timer one time. It doesn't matter. So
yeah, you're going to shoot as fast as you can, and while trying to hit every impact you can.
Yep. That's the only one I don't use it on, but everything else.
So does the time not matter in PRS at all as long as you clean it?
Right.
Not
so there's
on
a
a
part
field.
time.
Okay.
So it's as many impacts as you can get in X seconds.
But if I clean it 10 seconds faster than you clean it, it doesn't help me.
Nope.
Not unless it's the skill stage. There's always 1 stage per match that they
Tiebreaker.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's perfect in that scenario.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I have a request.
Unless you have a malfunction in the last 2 seconds, because there's times where I'm like, I got 10 seconds to break 1 shot. I'm gonna break it at the 2-second mark, or roughly. What if you had a malfunction?
That would suck.
So I will say, buy good gear, know your equipment, make sure that everything is tight. Like, that's the thing, is like, I knock on wood, I don't have equipment failures because I've bought awesome stuff from the very beginning. And the one thing about dry fire training is, like, nobody's there pushing you on the time. Make sure you use that as an opportunity to know your equipment, know how to adjust your bipod on the clock, know how to adjust your magnification. Like, everything about your rifle should be familiar to you. So
yeah, a lot of times when I dry fire, I'll go with a timer just for my knowledge, so I can say, you know, okay, I started out running this drill and it took me 2 minutes to shoot this stage at first and feel comfortable with every position and comfortable with every shot. And then a half an hour later, you know, I'm running it in you know, a minute 30 or something like that.
Yeah.
I have a request for the timer.
yeah.
This up here, really awesome Warren Skyline mount. There's
Yeah.
also one right over Jen's head.
Yep.
There's so many awesome places to mount on there.
Are there holes in the side of the mount?
There
There
are.
are.
Like, hold on.
Like, that's how my level is.
All right. Well, I know
That's
Sonny's
not
got
Warren
a rock, so
That's
we'll
not a Warren
just make that
Skyline.
happen.
Hold on.
Yeah, Swanee has them in stock. It has holes in different places on the angle or the flat on top
Yeah,
that
no
you
problem.
can screw into any of the
Yeah,
parts.
I made them for the MDT mounts on the side. So I mean, same thing. Somebody requested it. Actually, it was Francis, and he helped me make a couple tweaks to it, and it was perfect. So I might have to send you guys a couple and use them as R&D,
We
basically.
will.
Sweet.
I will definitely R&D that for you. So see down
At
here
the
in the bottom, they have some screws here. Screws here. Then there's also screws up on
I
the top.
can see that, Greg.
You see how bright and pretty green it is?
It's blinding.
And there's two of them now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the fun part.
Greg, I don't know if you want to get up as fast as you got up to get that rifle out. You're safe.
Oh, are you talking about my quarantine pants?
Yeah, I saw a lot of crack there. So it
We'll edit that out
totally
later.
like distracted what was going on here. I heard nothing.
We will edit that out later.
Anthony put that in the chat and I read it and about died. Okay.
Yeah.
That was funny.
Right.
What I was about to say is at Frontline, there was one stage that it was like second stage. I cleaned the first stage and then I had a very downward spiral. But one of the stages, I was like, I'm not going to time out. I'm not going to time out. And I'm capable of not timing out. And so I got myself worked up and I flew through it in probably 60 seconds and I missed half of the shots. I was like, if I'd have realized that I had that much time, I would have slowed down. I should have just slowed down. But I honestly thought that I was moving slow. So
I mean, it's just like here though. You have to train with it. So you'll have to get there and dry fire train with your crush it timer and make sure that you're comfortable with it. Like you don't want to rely on it and have it not start or whatever. You don't want to have something there that's in your workspace that's a distraction either. So
right, yeah. I
There you go.
definitely agree. You got to train with what you're going to use.
So the Crush It timer, we can find it where 5x5 and Swanee's.
Yep, you can grab it on Swanee'sCompGear.com right now if you want.
There you go.
Go buy them, everybody.
Yeah.
All right. Did we get any live? Has anybody made it on their way to YouTube or?
We have substantially less people, but we still have people. John wants to know if Jen's cup is Tiffany.
This was a present from my children at Christmas.
It looks very tippy. Like the bottom is round.
It's not round.
This is how I roll. Look, you can't tip this thing over.
No, I am the master of knocking over glasses of alcohol, and I have one that looks the same, just a different color that I've not.
Yes, but this is better than having a glass stem. See?
Maybe.
Yes.
There we go. And if not any more live, Greg, you can take 6.
All right.
We already hit 6.
Yeah, we pretty much just did 6.
Yeah, but I have a couple things I want.
So let's go to 7.
No. Chad said he wants to add some things.
Okay,
yeah.
Chad,
I get quite a few questions on the page. They PM me, DM me, whatever you want to call it. These kids call it these days. So where do I get the board? We covered that. What are the ranges on the board? The range to target. So I got the board behind me, and there's all these targets, right? People are like, well, how do you know it's 600 yards? How do you know it's 400 yards? They're all the same size, so it doesn't really matter. You just pick a range. So when I do the stages, I'm just picking ranges. Does that make sense? They're all either a 2 MOA dot or they're a 1.5 MOA.
Right, and I like the way you do it with the different distances because although the board is not a different distance, it's simulated, but it still makes you either hold your scope over or dial, which before you started this group, because I did actually do your first few drills before my gun got sent off. I did them. And I liked it because it made you actually dial. Before that, I was dry fire and I was like, and I have the board. So I'd, get in position and pull the trigger, get in position and pull the trigger. But I never did anything with dialing my scope or with holdovers because I just didn't really think about that.
Do you get your Kestrel out and figure out the data for that exact yardage? Or do you
I did. When you did that, this is what you have. I was like, okay. And I got my Kestrel out and I figured out what it should have been. And I made a dope card just like I would for a stage. Yep. And I got on there and did it exactly. I did it with holdovers. I can't remember. One of them I think was a holdovers that you had done. And the other one I think you dialed. But it was good because it made me actually go through the whole thing instead of just getting behind it and pulling the trigger. You know what I mean?
And I would highly encourage everybody to get their phone or their Kestrel or whatever, like get familiar with the app, calibrate the compass, gather your target direction just like you would using your Kestrel, which is a whole different story. Like lots of people say, hey, my Kestrel is not working right. Well, they probably, need to make sure that they know how to use it. So this is the perfect time to do that, like when you're not at a match. So use your Kestrel, get the data, decide if you're going to dial it. Lots of times I'll dial it, and then if I can dial it in the time limit, then I'll also practice holding, or vice versa. Like if I can't get it done by dialing, then I'll practice holding it. So that's what I wanted to say about the target size. I pick the ranges. You can pick your own ranges, but just the whole point of the matter is that it doesn't matter. They're all the same size. Just when you move to a different target, it should force you to do something different, if that's the point of it. The lenses, like this one's pretty self-explanatory. I think Greg had this one. Is this the one you were showing?
Right here.
Yeah. So this one, I've gotten different ones over the years. Like there's this one that comes with some of the kits. It's got ridges around it. You just kind of cut it a different size and then stick it inside of a Butler Creek scope cap, which is not a big deal. I've even got some from, DST a while ago that were just a lens, and you get the Butler Creek and you slip it in there. So that's been a question, like, how do I use the lens? Do I need the lens? And then the other biggest thing is like, how do I focus my scope? So it's very sensitive. Once you put this lens on the front of your objective, you got about a plus or minus 6-inch window where you're going to be in focus. My particular optic is a 10-foot distance from the center of the elevation turret to the target. And some people's is 12 feet. So when you find it and it's not in focus, like move back about 6 inches at a time, and then use your parallax knob, and that's what you're going to focus with. And then if you can't get it, move closer. So it's probably going to be somewhere between 9 and 12 feet.
With mine, I found that the biggest thing was light. Like at first I was like, I can't see. So I got a light and like that you put in your yard and shined it on the target. And then I was like, oh, I can see. And now I can see perfectly. So if you have one of these and you're having a hard time seeing it, just shine a light on it.
Perfect. Yeah, I get like a little halogen work light from Home Depot. They're like $10, and I put it on the ground, shine it up so that you don't get the reflection. And actually, that's what's shining over here right now, trying to give me some light in the kitchen here. But yeah, that's the third question I would say is, why is it so dark? Well, it's because you're reducing the aperture of your scope here with this, hole. So it's reducing the amount of light. So that's it. Question 6 done.
Yep, I set mine up in the entryway to my house, so like it'd be really weird if the door was unlocked and somebody walked in.
Yeah.
But I set it up directly under the light, and it's still not as bright as Jen's with the big bright light shining right on it, but it works pretty good. Another thing I learned the hard way, I'm sure you guys have seen like the printable target sheets and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I made these and I laminated them and everything, and you can see pretty good there. You can't see nothing when you laminate it, and everything's all reflective off of it. So just another like little friendly word of advice there. I did that before I had this awesome thing back behind me.
Yep.
There we go. What other specific gear do you use for dry fire, props, scope adapter, targets, and where do you get them?
So the targets I'm getting from Swanee's, and it comes with the adapter. So the only other thing that I'm using for dry fire training is the crusher timer, which we talked about. So that's about it.
So talk a little bit about props with dry fire, because I know some people are like, well, I don't have anything to dry fire off of. And I'm like, yes, you do.
Yeah, exactly. So my first 10 stages that I did, that was my main objective, is I don't want to show any stages with anything that was man-made or purchased or whatever. They were supposed to be things around the house. So it's really weird. Like when I'm driving down the road now and I'm looking at, people that have trash next to their bin, like, is that something I can shoot off of? Let me grab this. So the funny thing is I grabbed like this child's play set, and it wasn't like a big thing. It was like a little Tykes plastic POS. Like it wasn't any bigger than like 4 feet tall by 6 feet wide. And I brought it up to MTC, and it ended up being in one of the MPRSC matches as one of the stages. and it was super fun. Nate does a great job up there, and we have a ton of fun. But yeah, everybody was like, I hated that thing. I said, well, that's perfect. Like, it got you out of your comfort zone, and now you know, like, you need to practice off some weird stuff. So look around in your garage. I shot off a snowblower in one of the videos. There's all kinds of stuff you can shoot off a wheelbarrow, 5-gallon buckets. I did one with paint cans. Like, everybody's got that stuff laying around. And then when you get above that, like, you definitely want to try to get some barricades or some barrels. Like, there's plastic barrels around. Like, you see those at matches all the time. Anything you see at a match, I'm trying to grab it because I want to practice on it. Like, I hate practicing on the clock in a match. I want to practice at home in my barn with beer and whatever, time I have. So that's my goal. Never be surprised at a match. And then the match director's goal, like I said last week in one of the videos, is like, their goal is the exact opposite. Surprise you with something that you've never seen before.
Yep. So I'm looking around right now trying to find pictures of my barricade that I made because I couldn't fit it in this room.
I'm sure.
I could have, but I didn't want to collapse it. So I got a full-size PRS barricade, and each section folds up. So it's only 12 inches wide and however tall they are, and then the legs come off. And that's currently sitting in the entryway to my house. But I did actually find, I'm looking on Jen's Facebook. Let me see if I can share my screen real quick.
But even if somebody doesn't have the ability to like build that's mine. That's my setup in my garage.
Yeah. And it's real simple. It's, 12, maybe 14 inches wide, and it just has different height shooting positions on it. It's one thing. So instead of having to lug out the barrel, then lug out the chair, then lug out the ladder. Ladder's a good one.
Yep. Yeah. So
that's what I was about to say. If you can't build that, use just a ladder.
Yep.
Yeah.
Brought up a good point.
Just don't shoot the ladder, please. Please don't shoot my ladder anymore.
Maybe I'll add some of those type of ideas, like some plans for some simple barricade type scenario, type obstacles that people can make. Because once you've shot off of everything that you have around your house, then you're going to want to definitely experiment with some of those type of things. So that's a good idea. Maybe I'll add some links. I know 6'5" guys have a bunch of prints. I don't know if you've seen those guys.
Yeah,
but...
and so I saw the 6'5" guys, and I was like, I like theirs, but I'm an engineer. I'm going to come up with something better. So I did, and I've been meaning for like literally since I joined the group to post pictures of my barricade up there because it's awesome. I could take it. It's exactly as long as the back of my truck. Yep. So it's cut to fit inside of there, so I could haul it wherever I need to. It folds up super easy. So I'm gonna I'll post pictures of that over in the group so people can see it.
But you can take a kitchen chair out. You can take a bar stool out. You can take a little table. Anything that.
You can even use your wife, like if you ever like sit down, shoot off her shoulder, top of her head, whatever.
Oh, there you go.
You can do whatever. So just do different things. Get creative.
John said the kids' play set is his favorite stage.
Yeah, there was a lot of people that said they hated it though. So John was definitely the exception to the rule. I cut it up. I dismembered it. So if you guys want to recreate it, you're gonna have to find another one. It's gone. It's way gone.
Go. We're gonna go to Discount Corner here. We're a little late with it, and try to save you some money from companies to support the show. Jen usually starts us off. What do you got?
Yep, you can get 10% off at carbonarms.us on Carbon Arms, shotgun, shell caddies, and all that good 3-gun stuff. You can also, with TSM10, you can also get 10% off at Under Industries for great jerseys. If you go to their Facebook page and just mention the Shooter's Mindset, it's a veteran-owned company. They have great stuff, hoodies, jerseys, arm sleeves, anything you want, he can make. So support small businesses, especially right now.
Yeah.
And I know Chris was saying earlier that I read like half the post, I think, that they're in a mandatory quarantine type zone at the moment.
But he's still working. He was just saying
he's still trying to do everything he can, but if you have orders out with them, just kind of be a little patient, but they're doing whatever they can to get orders.
I mean, it's not like you need your jersey for a match right now.
Yeah, there are no matches.
Yeah.
You got to take pictures for the gram because that's about all we can do.
Yeah. Grow your Instagram page. Dryfire, Instagram page, Flex, stuff like that. Greg, what do you got as discounts?
I have Mindset 10 in all caps. It'll save you 10% off of all phone scope products. I've actually seen people use these for dry fire because if you record, you could hear the trigger click and see if you pulled the gun at all. So, obviously, if you pull it really bad, you're going to see it, but sometimes you might not notice the slightest little movement there. So it is something that can be useful for dry fire as well.
It's huge. Yeah, I got one on I use sometimes, and you definitely don't want to see your reticle move left or right when you break that trigger.
Yep.
You got to work on that.
Yeah. Chad, any discounts on your end that you know of?
No, we're just pushing the timers for $100 with the data card. So I mean that's a discount on swinescompgear.com right now. And then let me know if you guys need to have any rifle work done. So we're working on that.
There we go. I got one here. umtactical.com, TSM10 saves you 10% off their website. Any AR gear, any holsters, use TSM10. All right, and I got somebody in my room with me here. So
Dan says on YouTube, so you're at a public park and you see a domestic terrorist with a suicide vest, and all you have is a PRS rifle, a game changer, a kid's play set, and a hand grenade. Engage!
Woo!
And that only means a lot if you went to Regina's match in Arizona year before.
Year before.
That was awesome.
A lot of us watched that stage online. Hey, I found a picture. Hold on. Where's my share screen?
I went to our match this year in January. Man, it was awesome.
So here's a picture of my barricade in the living room.
There we go.
We had a little training session going on a few weeks back with Jen training a new junior shooter. And that thing's awesome. You see it's got hinges here and clasps, so it'll kind of fold all together. The little legs pop off.
Look at that form. Perfect 90 degrees.
Yes.
I had to do it right so I could show her how to do it. No, I was the whole time. I'm like, get behind the rifle. No, more behind the rifle. No, you're still not behind this is behind the rifle. Get all the way behind it. I know all these things. It's just making them execute on the clock that I seem to have problems with. See, and dry fire will help that.
Oh, you're still better at that than I am.
I got to get back to it for real. Chad, you got to like hound me.
Well, I've been begging you for like the past 2 months, like, let's have a dry fire night. And you're like, oh, the world's ending. I can't.
Well, I can't drive 30 minutes to your house. I can dry fire at my own house. What were you saying, Chad?
I was going to say next match we should get like joining rooms and the three of us could just dry fire until midnight.
Get an Airbnb.
Airbnb or bust.
Oh, there you go. Boom.
I love Airbnbs. I did that last time with we had like 7 of us. That was fun. It was a good time.
That was a fun house.
And we all just like hung out afterwards. So obviously dry fire is not 100% replacement for live fire because there's not wind. Or
recoil.
Or recoil, yeah. So it can be difficult to simulate all of that. But what skill sets do you find easiest to improve on when you're dry firing?
So I like that you pointed out that you can't account for wind or recoil, but I would say that the top shooters, because they don't account for those things, it's because they are good at not making mental errors, and they're good at following the course of fire, and they're good at perfect fundamentals, and they got a good trigger press and follow through and all those things. So all of those things you can practice with dry fire. If somebody, misses because of the wind, as long as you saw where that miss was, then it really didn't cost you that much. It's probably not going to cost you, 10th or 11th place, which is where, we would all love to be, right? So I would say, don't fret about the wind as much as you should be focused on the fundamentals, because a lot of people say that they missed it because of switchy wind when, they really, if you were really honest with themselves, or if they had that scope cam on their scope, you would really see that it was a bad trigger press. So focus on those types of things. The other thing I would say is dry fire can help you by giving you a chance to explore all positions on a particular barricade. You can't do that on a clock in a match, but if you recreate that scenario at home, then you can take all the time in the world to mess with that particular obstacle. The other thing I would say is videotape yourself. Like, that's the main reason I started the dry fire training group, was to hold myself accountable. So I'm videotaping myself. I'm sure as hell not going to post it on Facebook unless I've practiced it, right? So I'm forcing myself to practice it to be good enough, which is hopefully good enough to shoot in a match, to post it on Facebook. And then if you can afford or have the, you know, ability to grab a scope cam, then you can be, you know, even more analytical about your trigger press and follow through. And I guess what I would, you know, say at the end is, don't force yourself to go fast until you're ready to go fast. Like, make sure that you're dialing your scope and you don't have any of those mental errors and you got a good trigger press. And then once you have all that, then you can focus on speed. So that's what I do at the very, very end. I make sure that everything is, you know, squared away and I don't have those, you know, super basic mental errors or fundamental errors. And then I'll work on trying to beat the time hack of 90 seconds or a minute, you know, 2 minutes or whatever it is. So
I will say the improvement that I saw last year was solely from dry fire and learning how to get in a position quickly, like, because it became second nature. Like, oh, okay, I need to go to my low position or my middle position or my high position. And so I just could just like plop into it because I had dry fired and gotten in and out of that position 100 times. And so I knew exactly where to put my body and where my leg needed to go. And I could get into that position. And it doesn't matter if it was a tank trap or a barrel or a haystack. If it was low, I did the same thing for all three of them. You know what I mean? And so it got me very comfortable getting in and out of position quickly. And that was a huge improvement.
Yeah, you guys
have heard of the three positions that you talked about?
Do what?
Can you explain the three positions that you talked about, like you explained to me when you were training?
Well, so it's almost like four. Like really, really low is sitting. There are some positions you have to sit, and then there's some that I'm like kneeling. You know, sitting on my foot, but not a complete all the way up kneeling, but like kind of sitting on your foot kneeling. And then there's traditional kneeling and then standing. And if you can learn those different heights of position, you can do any prop. So
you have a 12-inch tall rock or a 12-inch tall leg on a barricade or a 12-inch tall bucket. You're going to shoot them all in about the same body position to get your body behind the rifle the same.
Yeah.
Because that was something that just, you know, brand new coming straight into this from 3-gun and USPSA. It was, you know, it's like putting the rifle on something to shoot. What is this? And that was something that helped me a lot, just being able to generalize, like, okay, you know, from my knee down, I'm going to do this. From my waist down, from my waist to my knee, I'm going to do this. From like my that thing that you do the Heimlich maneuver on to my belly button.
What you're talking about?
You know, you kind of got a position.
Well, people get very frustrated. Oh man, I don't know how to shoot a tank trap, and I don't know how to shoot this. And it doesn't really matter if you just can learn your body position for the different heights. Yeah. And so I just, in my head, that's how it's easier to break it down. That there's one where I'm actually on my butt sitting, and then one where I'm kind of sitting on my foot, and then kneeling, and then standing. And I just, you can get on those positions no matter what it is you're getting on.
Yeah, so that's the point I am. It has to be when you're in a relaxed position, are you on target?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And it doesn't matter if the front of the gun is on a bipod or on a bag or whatever it's on, as long as you can get yourself behind that rifle. And like he said, get behind it square every time at that height, then you can do that.
Yeah.
What were you about to say, Chad?
No, I was
earlier.
It was way in the past. I was just going to say that I took a class with Jake Weber. You guys might have heard of the guy, but he is all about move fast, shoot slow, and make sure that you follow your proper fundamentals. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how fast you get to some place. It's just when you're on the clock, when you're on the trigger, make sure that you follow your shot process, BTF, breathe, trigger, follow through, and there was a question, I think it was on the sidebar, is what does trigger control matter when you have a, you know, half-pound trigger? And it matters because while you're pressing that trigger, the bullet is still traveling down the barrel. It's traveling really fast, but it's still moving down the barrel. Yeah, you got all that distance.
It's not a pistol, Anthony. It's got all that distance.
I'm not calling anybody out. I'm just saying. So while that trigger is being pressed, the rifle is being influenced. And if you don't have a natural point of aim and you don't have a trigger that's straight into the rear, and then you don't follow through when the ignition occurs and the internal ballistics is happening, then you have bad downrange effects potentially.
Especially the farther out you get.
Yep.
There you go.
There you go.
Definitely.
Real quick, I want to respond to a live one. 76 Highboy Reloading said, "You folks always have good info, and he rarely gets to watch us. And he has to go, but he just thought he'd say hi. But hey, man, we have a podcast now, so you could download us to our phone, any podcast app. Just look up The Shooter's Mindset. Normally, the Wednesday after the show, I'll post it up there. You can put it on your phone, and you can listen to us in the car or wherever you want, because we know that like not everybody in the world is free at 9 p.m. on a Tuesday night. So just friendly info there. Okay.
Yeah, or you can watch the live show back on YouTube, which I usually post a few days after it. So you can always, I mean, go watch episode 1 that happened like a million years ago, and you can go watch that. I mean, so they're always available if you can't get the live show.
That is, you guys are on 289.
Yeah, 289, and we've taken a lot of pauses in between here. So I've seen other shows like they're on like 500. I'm like, dude, I started my show way before you guys. I'm like, how are you on 500?
I've been doing this 5 years, and you were doing it before me, Anthony.
Yeah.
5 years. 2015, I started doing this with you. This is crazy.
So unless I counted wrong somewhere along the line, we're at 289 currently.
I need some of that Swanee's
so you can watch 289.
You don't have this. You got to have it. You got to get it.
I don't have none either.
You don't have this?
No. That's why my beard is so tiny.
It has nothing to do with the beard oil.
Oh, I thought it made your beard grow too. You put it on your bolt, it makes your beard.
For your bolt.
It's all about this, Greg.
Yeah.
I'm all about that too.
Yeah. So, I mean, hey, there's probably a few episodes that you can't find. I mean, we've probably done about, probably like 290, 293 maybe, because there's some episodes we had to take down.
There's one episode we had to take down.
I had to take down one episode.
Oh, did you?
I had a ghost. No, well, the Ryan Hay episode, of course, we had to take down.
We're not supposed to talk about that. Hashtag drunk.
Yeah, that was podcasting while drunk, and now I'm thinking about starting a whole new show just off of that. We both get completely trashed before the podcast goes live, and then we go live, and we see what comes up. Yeah.
Oh, my God, that's awesome.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah,
so funny.
I mean, I think it's funny, but some people might think guns and talking about gun knowledge and getting drunk at the same time probably ain't the best thing to do, but I think it'll be funny for comedic value. There's one episode that we had run on the live stream, but when it went to upload to YouTube, it failed. It was like a big error. So that show never made it actually to YouTube, and that was featuring DK Custom Triggers. I
forgot about that.
If you watched it live, you got it, but if you have to go back and watch it, it's no longer there. A couple episodes I had to edit because some people said some stuff they weren't supposed to, but for the most part, it's
you might need to edit this one.
Yeah, clean,
edit
cut, and dry, man. Yeah, we got a little butt crack usage. We got some half YouTube, half Facebook.
Hey,
we got some bad audio.
Still not the most skin ever shown on the Shooter's Mindset.
We are not going to talk about that, and it was not me, but we're not going to talk about it.
Yeah, that's what happens when you go live. I mean, some shit just happen. That was funny. I totally don't even remember that.
Oh, I do.
I don't. Totally don't. I got to remember the episode. I need to go back and watch it. Like, what happened?
We edited it out. It's gone.
Did we?
Yes,
okay.
It's gone.
Okay. I went back to show somebody the next day, and it was gone.
Okay. Did I edit it?
I think so, yes.
It wasn't me. I was a professional viewer at that time.
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't even remember that.
We should get back to questions.
Yes.
All right, I got number 10 here. and then we can kind of wind this one down to shoutouts. How much dry fire per day do you think it takes to see improvement? Now, I know in the pistol world, I heard the 15 minutes a day will take you there. Is it the same for PRS, in your opinion, Chad?
I mean, I don't do that much. I don't do it daily. I try to do it twice a week. So, I mean,
See, I don't feel so bad then. I can do twice a week. See, I feel like I have to do it every day. You made me feel better just now.
You don't have to do anything.
That's what you should do now, Jen. Now that the gym's closed, you can wake up at 4 a.m. every morning, go out to the garage and dry fire.
Yeah.
I
definitely tell you that I probably, it's probably 50-1 for me, dry fire to live fire. I mean, it's a huge number. I've heard people say 4-1 or 10-1 or whatever, but I enjoy it. It doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't, it doesn't take as much time because I can just walk out to the barn, or you can go out to the garage or the basement or whatever. So, I mean, that's my biggest motivation for it, is it doesn't cost me anything. It doesn't burn down my barrel.
And you don't have to make ammo for it.
Yeah. I mean, you're still working on 80% of what you need to work on. Yep.
My little 22.
So what are some of your favorite drills to run?
So I started the whole series with things that I wasn't super confident with as far as my weapon system or my gear. So it was trying to figure out how to be super proficient with everything that I have on my rifle. So that was my number one tip. I would say number two, stages that I bombed. Like, I keep every matchbook and all my, like I said, all my notes. So whatever stages I bombed, you're going to see them in Dry Fire Training Group, because that's what I need to focus on. Stages from old matches that tested my speed, like if I timed out, or my mental ability, like at the PRS finale when I forgot to hold over a couple of stages or a couple of targets. It was definitely bad. I dropped 5 points on one, and then I didn't dial properly on the movers, and so I think I lost 7 points because I was dialing the wrong. I mean, it was bad. So in a match like the PRS Pro finale, like, you can't do that. It's hard to get in the top 50 anyway. So yeah, so that was bad. So I'm not afraid to admit it, because that's what I need to work on. And then a lot of times I'll do make and break drills, or they call them one-shot drills, where you build a position, you break one shot, and then you stand up and you build a position again and you break the shot. So you're focusing on the process that gets you into that position. So those are the 4 tips I have, and those are what I focus the most on.
I did a lot of that, that year that I was trying to improve. I did a lot of I had a hard time getting into positions fast. So I did a lot of that, what you just talked about, the one shot, where I would just like pretend like I'm standing there with my bag and I'm ready to go, and there's an RO there, and engage. And I would build the position, close the bolt, break the first shot, and then I'd get back up and I'd do it again. And I would just build the position over and over again. And that helped tremendously, just to make it natural, where I fell into place then whenever I went to a match. So
yeah, and I would say take it really serious. Like if you don't have a good pre-stage checklist, like if you're not checking your parallax, your elevation, your windage, making sure your magnification's dialed on the proper magnification, your chamber flag is out, like these type of things matter on the clock. So make sure that before you do that in a dry fire sequence at home, like you are following that same exact procedure. So I mean, I run a chamber flag at home most of the time when I'm running dry fire anyway, just to make sure that I'm forcing myself to just take care of that. I mean, it's got to be pulled out before you get up to the stage. Otherwise, you're going to waste time or jam it up into your chamber. I've had that happen before with a round right behind it, and you're like on the clock. You're like, what is going on? So, I mean, all those things, like after action report, take notes, and then go home and train on it.
Yeah,
that's great info.
Yeah, I used to dry fire in full gear. Some people would do flip flops and a belt. I used to just full on, like even the hat. I used to throw on a hat. They like, full on what I would have in a match, exactly the way I would do it. I would have those shoes I would wear if I had those shooting shoes, you name it, down to the nitty. That's the way I used to dry fire, exactly the way I would show up to a stage. The whole RO commands, the whole deal. I mean, that's the way I did it. Now, I'm not saying that worked for everybody. I mean, I know some guys that'll do flip flops and just throw on a gun belt and just run it the way that is, and I'm sure that works too. It was just my deal. I would throw on everything.
It's definitely something that helps a lot, especially with a precision rifle. I know Jen pretty much lives in yoga pants, so it's not a huge difference to her. But if I'm wearing my well,
Well, he says this because he was practicing at first when I taught him the positions. He was practicing in weren't you doing gym shorts to dry fire, and then you went to a match and you couldn't get into a position because your britches shagged.
What positions are you teaching him?
No, so
he couldn't even kneel because his britches were shagged. They were not up at his waist. Did you not see him just stand up? Anyway, and so he couldn't get into a position because he had to hike his britches up, and he didn't practice that at home because he was wearing gym shorts at home. And he got off the stage, and I'm like, "What just happened?" And he's like, "I couldn't get in position because of my pants."
That ain't right, Greg.
I mean, I wear 511s when I shoot because I got really awesome little knee pads built in. And but around the house in Georgia in the summer.
That's good friendly advice. Just saying, I might have told you that 1 or 30 times, but
more than that. But no, it's true though. You got to think about everything, because if you practice and practice and practice with no shoes on, because you're always bending your ankles in weird directions, getting into some of the lower positions. I've noticed. I was like, all right, so I'm going to dry fire. Before I sent my rifle off and I was pretty heavy into it, I dry fire right after work, and then I realized, because I was like, yeah, cool. My Carhartts for work are fairly similar and sit pretty similar to my 511s. So I just go and dry fire for 15 minutes before I go home and shower. I'll be good. And then I was like, oh, I'm in steel toe, pretty much cowboy boots. Those are very different than Solomon's. So I'd go home and I'd change my shoes and then I'd dry fire. And that helped a lot. Just getting something, you don't have to wear exactly every single thing, but there's so much that goes into getting into positions. If you change something like your pants, you'll definitely notice it.
Yeah, so I mean, I think we're gonna, unless we have any live, Greg, I don't know if we have anything. I think we're gonna wind this one down here. I just wanted to pop the safe and talk a little bit about the GSL technologies here. Here's one that I have for 45.
Nice.
Look at that. You see no weld marks. Now,
that is sexy.
Majority of the suppressors that I know, look at that. It's so clean. No marks. Can you see one mark? I can't see it. So, I mean, these are some of the most sexiest cans that are out there right now. And GSL technology has been in the game for a long time. Pistol cans, rifle cans. If you're shooting 2 miles away, they have suppressors for that. And those calibers, if you're shooting precision long range like Jen, they have the GT mag for your 6.5s, your 6 GTs, your Trio 8s, your stuff like that. They got 20 all the way down to 22 caliber. So they got all your suppressor needs over at GSL Technologies. Take a peek at them if you're into the suppressors, if you're thinking about getting one, if you don't own one, if you own 1,000 of them, and you're thinking about trying switching up companies. These guys kind of know what they're doing over there. This one's for 45 ACP. Got this one on a 1911, which is pretty hot. Any live, and we're good to wrap up, or what you got, Greg?
Let's see. Kevin from GSL said, "Don't practice until you get it right. Practice until you can't get it wrong," which is solid advice.
Yep.
Dude, no weld marks. How? I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know.
They just got skills.
What do you got, lot anymore?
There's a bunch. It's a lot to go through, but
Yeah, I'm about to say that's the biggest one. Hashtag pre-fire checklist. Hashtag Bob something another.
Oh man.
I think we're good.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Sorry if we missed your live question, man. Between Facebook, jumping over to YouTube, and then letting some pile up, I think we might have missed one or two. But that'll bring it down to shout outs here. Greg, you want to start us off with that?
Yep. So I got shooters and sharpshooters of Augusta. I went out there Saturday with my absolutely beautiful new 22 with my new chassis, put the new scope on it, and got it all zeroed. I think right now they're doing the that whole 6 foot rule They got every other bench open. They're still making ammo, prepping brass. So they're running pretty good right now. PDC Custom, again, you can get the long chassis, the short chassis, everything's lime green. Not really. They actually have normal colors, but if you want to be obnoxious like me, that's where you get those at. NDZ Performance, who also sells lime green parts for your Gucci Glock and all sorts of other cool things. Phone Scope, we already talked about them earlier, just kind of an awesome thing to have. Shooters World Propellant, they still have powder. You can find it everywhere. They got tons here. So hit them up if you're shooting one of those gay tigers. They got the precision rifle powder. It's all over the place. It's probably about the best powder out there for it. Hunter's HD Gold. It's kind of like that HDR filter that you use for your Instagram, except for it's for your eyes. Really helps to make the targets jump out really good. Vortec. I know everybody's dry firing, everybody's prepping brass, but if you're quarantined, hit up Vortec, get some really awesome stuff, clean your rifle better than it's ever been cleaned before. Probably my favorite product from them. They have an action cleaner. So I know everybody cleans their action out somehow, but you may spray it with some brake cleaner. You may, stick a lot of paper towels in there, but guys, it's really hard to find paper towels right now, but it's not hard to find the Vortec action cleaner, and it works a lot better.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, there you go, Jen. You got any shout outs there?
Yep. Shout out to Prime Ammunition, Macmillan Stocks for beautiful guns, Night Force Optics, GSL Suppressors, HD Gold, Warren Scope Mounts, Under Industries, Vortec, Shooters of Augusta and Sharpshooters of Augusta, and Phone Scope.
Are you all set up for GT, Jen, now or no?
I am almost. I have the dies. I have barrels. I have dies. I need to mount my press so that I can start reloading.
Hey, I have a mounted press. Come over.
Good, Jen.
I should have everything now. So
I got 1,000 rounds down the tube.
Yeah, I gotta get some rounds down this tube. I need
to
break it in. No, because I have no bullets. Well, I have some bullets, but they're not in a case. So, but anyway, I'm getting there. And Prime is also finishing up their GT, so I'll be getting that soon. So,
sweet.
Nice.
Sweet deal. Chad, any shout outs before we go?
Just Swine's Comp Gear, obviously, 5x5 Precision. I'm a free agent, so the only other thing that I will say is I always wear Kuyu gear on my dry fire training group because I love them. It fits me good. So if those guys ever want to give me a shout out, that'd be cool. But other than that, MPA, Zeta, I choose to run, some of the best stuff, and I love it because it's treated me right. So that's it.
What about 5x5 Precision?
Yep, 5x5.
5x5. The ARS posted a great meme. I know we didn't do the meme segment of the show, but what was it? I don't know. It was a reaction meme, and then I get MDT dropped all the marketing budget on their shooting team, and now the season's on a complete pause. So it was. We probably should have threw up that meme during our meme section, but the show was all out of whack today. But ARS did a good one. We should have did that one, but yeah. Shout out to my end. If you're watching on the YouTube side of things, right below the video, you see a yellow subscribe button. You can hit that. Every Tuesday, we're doing at 9 Eastern, we're doing a new episode of Shooter's Mindset featuring another great guest. What else we have? The folks over, if you want to email me, the Shooter's Mindset at gmail.com is a good way to do that. Definitely thanks to Chad for sharing some knowledge here on dry fire, getting our butts in gear maybe a little bit, because I know we all been lacking on the dry fire, right?
It's motivated me again.
Especially
especially.
The biggest slacker of everybody.
And he's got all the gear. It's not like one can say, well, I'm missing that dry fire thing. I'm missing this, and that. He's got all the gear, right?
I used to be like, oh, man, it's rainy out. I can't dry fire in the backyard. Darn.
Yeah. Darn. Yeah, exactly. And what else I got? Rise Armament and GSL Technologies once again for all your suppressor needs, man. No weld marks again. Nice. I'm digging those. That'll do it for episode 289 of the Shooter's Mindset. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight, and we're out of here.